They would just disappear. I mean, everything, they would disappear from the records.
They're just gone.
They would just, you couldn't find anything about them. We call it canceling them now.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing as he wrote about in 1948. And they started eliminating words from, in the book, they started eliminating words, and there was just what they called newspeak.
Mm-hmm.
And you could only use these words and not use any others.
Same thing.
And people started saying, well, I actually like that because I don't want to have to make any decisions. Just tell me what words I can use, and I'll use those, and then I don't have to think.
Wow.
And how crazy is that? We have the First Amendment protecting free speech, and we're muzzling each other. It's not the government coming in and taking it away. Right? It's now we're muzzling each other. You say something I don't like, and we will attack you. We will cancel you. We will get you fired. We will get you labeled as a hater. We will get you labeled as phobic, whatever. And you'll wear the scarlet letter and be unacceptable anymore. And it's got people. I have one statistic in the book that says the percentage of people that are afraid to express their opinion has tripled since 1950. So in the last 75 years.
And think of 1950 as the beginning of the Red Scare.
Yeah. It's tripled since then. People are just saying, I'd just rather not say anything. How bad is that?
You don't have a civilization when that happens.
No, you don't. And what you're saying is you've been trying to wake people up and have. I mean, don't sell yourself short. You've awakened a lot of people. It's a process. And I think that a lot of these activists have pushed too far, too long, too hard, and people have started saying, wait a minute, you're now messing with my kids, you're messing with my education. Too much is too much. Enough's enough, too much is too much. Like my grandmother says, you quit preaching and go on to meddling now. That's not okay.
We, the people, are not being governed, but we are under siege. Stand up, step forward, speak out, and you will pay a price in today's political environment.
Some demographics come to the table and have to overcome racism, unconscious bias, misogyny. And so how do we help level the playing field for everyone?
Okay, so that means you're trying to create equality of outcome. Mm-hmm. That's what I hear you saying about playing God. Yeah. How do you create equality of outcome when people aren't the same? You're right. Some people are shorter, some people are taller looking over that fence. They can't both play in the NBA.
Right.
You can't create equality of outcome. What gives a DEI program the right to come in and try and alter the nature of things to create equality of outcome? That's been tried. That didn't work. That was called Marxism.
People need to start trying to help themselves instead of whining for someone to hand everything to them.
We need to look at, for example, a short person and a tall person, and they're both looking over a fence, and they have the same block to stand on. And the tall person, of course, can see over the fence, but the short person has not been lifted up enough to see over the fence. So how do we help level the playing field for everyone?
How do you create equality of outcome when people aren't the same? You're right. Some people are shorter, some people are taller looking over that fence. They can't both play in the NBA.
Right.
You can't create equality of outcome. What gives a DEI program the right to come in and try and alter the nature of things to create equality of outcome? That's been tried. That didn't work. That was called Marxism.
How about didn't earn it, or discrimination, exclusion, and intimidation? Those would be more accurate than the slogan that they got going on.
She can level the playing field by staying home and caring for her children instead of social engineering.
They look you in the eye, or they were in an elevator. Same thing with road rage. If people blow the horn, you yell stuff. They wouldn't say that to you if you step in front of them on an escalator.
Right.
They wouldn't say, you rat bastard.
Right.
But they'll say it because they don't have to own it.
Right.
And so many of these people that jump on the bandwagon, they don't even know what they're talking about. They just see somebody jumping on somebody's ass. They go, "Hey, this is great. This will be fun."
Pile on.
Yeah. And they don't even know what they're talking about. And people's lives get ruined. And that's not solving a problem. That's just being a keyboard bully. And that's a terrible misuse of social media. It's terrible misuse of the internet. And if you would counsel instead of cancel, we could really make some progress.
There's just very few people capable of thinking that way. And social media, unfortunately, reinforces this idea, and it reinforces these tribal groups that connect to their ideology. They support these people in this little tribal group. The problem is that they step out of line at all. These people that are canceling, they run out of people to cancel, and they go after each other. They go out, progressives in particular. You're not progressive enough. They'll go after you for enabling.
Yeah, I had somebody write an article the other day, some site I've never even heard of, that says Dr. Phil's become a platform for right-wing hate mongers or something. And they listed some shows where I'd had on people on the right, giving them a voice. They went down through like 6 or 8 shows. And not one time did they mention that sitting right across from them was the other side. Like one of them was I had Lila Rose on, who's the Right to Life spokesperson, very smart woman, and she was arguing that. I had the president of the National Organization of Women and Ben Crump on the other, sitting right across from her. They didn't mention that they were there.
Yeah, of course they don't, because it's not a real article. The article's not a real thought. It's an attack. It's not an unbiased, objective assessment of the conversation. It's horseshit.
But they did like 8 out of 8. They did not mention one time that the other side was there. And it's because they don't want to hear anybody's side but theirs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing.
And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let both sides say what they have to say and let people make up their own minds about what they want to think and what they want to feel.
Well, that's the way things are supposed to be held. That's the way things are supposed to be done. When you really want to solve a problem, you got to let both people talk, and you got to figure out who's right and who's wrong. And that's why censorship is so dangerous. Because the correct answer to censorship, like this whole Kanye West thing, Kanye West is being canceled by all these organizations, and the best way to handle Kanye West is the way Lex Friedman did. Have a conversation with him.
Whoa, slow it down. Dr. Phil, I don't think our elected leaders would agree with you on those wants. They may say they do, but their direct actions contradict that.
Not that most people on the left, I think, believe this stuff, but the ones who don't, my critique with them is you're fucking cowards, because you know the insanity of your own fringe, but you don't call it out. And my question is always, like, this stuff, you're just saying about, like, the French or the experiencing homelessness. Why do this is obviously something that teenagers put up on Twitter or Instagram or something. Why does the rest of the country, actual adults, bow to it and follow it and go along with it? Because everyone is rolling their eyes. Almost everyone except the fucking 14-year-old who posted that. Why do we follow teenagers?
I mean, it's like the emperor's new clothes. I mean, you remember that fable? The emperor's parading around in his underwear,
right?
And nobody wants to say it because only a fool would not see the clothes.
The message of the emperor's new clothes is timeless and vital.
Instead of being commonsensical and saying, how do we solve this problem?
Yeah, I think very few people are able to argue without attaching themselves to ideas. So if their idea, when they have an argument about something, if you say something that they agree with, instead of accepting that you say something they agree with, they want to fight against it because they just want to be right. Very few people are good at ideas being discussed in arguments because the argument becomes very personal. Like they think about their own self-worth and they attach it to being the winner of the argument. They want to use ad hominem attacks, insults, and trying to figure out a way to verbally joust with you to the point where they're successful.
When people start assassinating character, it's because their ideas won't withstand challenge. This cancel culture bullshit, cancel culture should be counsel culture. If you say something that's offensive to my values, I should counsel with you about it, not cancel you, not get everybody to hate you. You know, you see somebody that says something on Twitter or says something in an interview that is offensive to some group, and all of a sudden you start reading the messages they get. It's like, I hope you get ass cancer and die, you son of a bitch. I'll cut your throat. I'll come to your house and kill your children. Are you kidding me? It's like, boycott this person, boycott this company. Where did we get to this? Now they're canceling each other. It should be counsel culture, not cancel culture. Let's sit down and talk about it. Let me educate you. Maybe you don't understand. Maybe when you do, you won't agree, but let's talk about this.
I think it's social media. I think it's echo chambers. I think it's people having the ability to discuss things without...
Whoa, slow it down. Dr. Phil, we don't think our elected leaders would agree with you on those wants. They may say they do, but their direct actions contradict that.
Not that most people on the left, I think, believe this stuff, but the ones who don't, my critique with them is, you're fucking cowards, because you know the insanity of your own fringe, but you don't call it out. And my question is always, like, this stuff, you're just saying about, like, the French or the experiencing homelessness. Why do this is obviously something that teenagers put up on Twitter or Instagram or something. Why does the rest of the country, actual adults, bow to it and follow it and go along with it? Because everyone is rolling their eyes. Almost everyone except the fucking 14-year-old who posted that. Why do we follow teenagers?
I mean, it's like the emperor's new clothes. I mean, you remember that fable? The emperor's parading around in his underwear,
right?
And nobody wants to say it because only a fool would not see the clothes.
Discrimination is discrimination, no matter who it's against.
Coca-Cola is getting a lot of attention for some of their sensitivity training with their employees. Your comment was that, in part, they're teaching some of their employees how to be, quote, less white.
Absolutely.
How the hell do you do that?
Well, I'd like to make the point that it's not just Coca-Cola that is engaging in this sort of activity and
I'm
these
just
sort of
using it as an
trainings.
example.
Yeah, it's a great example, and it's happening in corporations and in schools all across America, and they are effectively teaching people. Coca-Cola said, quote, how to be less white. They assume that things like being a perfectionist, engaging in or having a response to objectivity, having a neutral or a nuclear family. These are inherently extensions of whiteness.
Listening to John Mayer.
According to Coca-Cola, these are extensions of whiteness, and they actually engaged in trainings where they taught their employees how to be less white.
They found a way to insult all the races at the same time. Equality.
Really put those on the same level?
I absolutely
Racism
do.
and sexism,
Absolutely.
you put it on the same level as cultural appropriation?
That's exactly.
So if somebody wears their hair like you're wearing it, you put that on the same level as racism?
Absolutely. I put that on the same level as white supremacy, because white supremacy is intersectional.
And as a professor at Arizona State, everything that he said there is complete nonsense, except it's nonsense that has now been wholly imported into the Democrat Party. You can wear whatever haircut you want. You can make whatever jokes you want. You can eat whatever food you want. You can put on whatever clothes you want to put on. These people don't own you. They don't own your mind. They don't know whether you're doing something to honor it or make fun of it. And guess what? You're also allowed to make fun of things. We used to joke about everything.
He's wearing Dutch braids. He's guilty of doing exactly what he defines as racist.
You should be able to talk about whatever you want to talk about and have an exchange of ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. It doesn't work that way. When you put out something that is at odds with the agenda is intolerant when you're dealing with these activists.
Well, that's exactly what Dr. Phil has done. And this time, he's not holding back. Dr. Phil, the American author and television personality we all know for letting others have their say, has had enough of this woke madness. But now he's the one doing the talking, and the woke crowd is losing it. Phil's not just concerned. He's calling out the dangers of expressing any opinion that goes against the woke agenda.
Where everyone gets their news from. You're just to jump in here, when your network starts, you're hosting the primetime show called Dr. Phil Primetime. And for an upcoming episode, my understanding is that you went to the southern border. Now, you're saying that you're going to give people facts. What did you take away from that experience, and what kind of reporting are you going to be bringing back from that experience?
I'll tell you a fact I took away. I talked to the head of all the border guards down there, the head of the union. I asked him straight up, kids are coming over the border with numbers written on them, phone numbers and addresses. Do we check those out? He said, well, we call them. Is it possible that we're sending them into known prostitution rings or sweatshops? He said, it's not possible. It is absolute. We are using American tax dollars to ship children into known prostitution and sweatshops.
Some children.
Well, who knows?
Okay.
We don't know. I said, are you?
So what kind of checking do they do? So
They call the number and say, do you know about this child? They say, yes. Will you receive them when they come? Yes. I said, is it possible that that's a prostitution ring? He said, we know enough to know that in a number of cases, it has turned out to be absolute sex ring. It has turned out to be an absolute sweatshop. I said, how is this possible?
Seeing them squirm when someone states facts that don't fit their constant narrative is hilarious.
Ethic of Gen Z. What do you guys think about this younger generation and how they work, don't work, move around, job-wise, what they expect?
Well, I don't like stereotypes of any kind. I think there are ambitious, industrious people in your generation. There were, in our generation, there were also deadbeats. It's just a very, it's so individual.
You know, if you're seeing at Dollar Tree on your timeline, that's because they're under fire after a manager in Indiana posted, help wanted, but only for boomers and not Gen Z because, quote, don't know what work actually means. And then I apologize for us closing again. My 2 new cashiers quit because I said their boyfriends couldn't stand here for their entire shift. Don't hire Gen Z. They don't know what work actually means. Now hiring baby boomers only. Thanks.
Wow.
So apparently they had a problem with, I guess,
But I think they're being
boyfriends showing up.
Yes.
You're right.
They're
You
definitely
can't
being way too
assume
general.
that because a few Gen Z people are, they're all like that. And also, like, low-key, that sounds illegal. Open discrimination and bragging about it.
I think Dollar Tree agreed with you because they did put up this statement. The manager in question is no longer employed by the company, and Dollar Tree released a statement that it did not approve or condone the sign. John's a professor, and he says his Gen Z students are lazy, less motivated, only interested in themselves, and need to socialize more, that they're consumed by their phones. You say if somebody's up giving a presentation or whatever, not them, they don't even pay attention to it.
They seem to want to focus on their phones more than listening and learning. So it's frustrating for me sometimes. Again, not generalizing that all students are like that, but a lot of them are on their phones while I'm talking. And I say, if you need to talk on your phone, you can go outside and talk on your phone.
Are they failing?
No, because of grade inflation. Grade inflation scares me.
What is grade inflation?
They all expect to get A's no matter what. But years ago, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
I've been teaching for almost 40 years, and I feel a lot of pressure on myself to give the students at least a C, even if they're not doing an adequate amount of work.
Oh.
Which, first and foremost, thank you for being like a teacher and a professor. Like when I was in school, I always, I'm not gonna say I was the perfect person. Yeah, I have a little bit of attitude.
But again, I've learned also from your generation that I have to understand where you're coming from.
Do you think we like waste our time on our phones essentially?
No, because I'm turning into one of you. I'm on my phone all the time now.
Oh, he's going to the dark side.
I get a message from Apple that says you were on your phone for 5 hours a day last week. I'm like, oh my God, I'm turning into a Gen Z person.
Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.
If they are like this, look at what they're being taught.
You should be able to talk about whatever you want to talk about and have an exchange of ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. It doesn't work that way. When you put out something that is at odds with the agenda is intolerant when you're dealing with these activists.
Transgender boys who might not have their own money to go buy tampons, if they're provided free in the bathroom, it's a huge plus.
Men do not menstruate. Only women menstruate. Now, you can call yourself
Cis men
whatever you
don't
want.
menstruate, but trans men do menstruate.
No,
Same
they
as
don't.
non-binary people.
Only women.
Menstruating is not exclusive
Yes,
to
it
cis
is.
women. No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
So explain to me as to why my body
if you
menstruated at
If
some
your
point
chromosomes are XX and you're young, you menstruate.
Correct, but what about trans men and non-binary?
They're
We're
not men.
excluding a whole group of
They're
people here
women
that
dressed
menstruate.
as men. You are not a man. People who hate the truth are because they see the truth as hateful. If you want to identify in any way you can, you're free to do so. But that does not mean that the rest of us have to join that illusion.
If you're a dude and your vagina's bleeding, you've got a problem.
We love the anger in their eyes when you tell them the truth, then call us hateful. That's a wrap. We've seen Dr. Phil call out woke America, and they're unhappy about it. What do you think? Leave a comment below, like this video, and subscribe for more. See you next time.